There is a bottle of lemon syrup on the shelf of the grocery store 3 miles from my house, and the little tag under it reads $4.29. It is a handsome bottle, I will give them that much. A bright yellow label, a painted lemon that never grew on any tree God made, a cap that clicks when you screw it down. But turn it over the way I do, with my glasses pushed down to the end of my nose, and read the back of it, and you will see just exactly what your $4.29 is buying. Sugar, water, a little bit of lemon. That is the whole of it. 3 things already sitting in your kitchen this very minute, while you stand there in the aisle about to pay a man for them. This is the 50-cent bottle of lemon syrup my grandmother Della refused to buy her whole life. And the recipe that beats it was written down in the year 1832. It has not been adjusted since, and it has not been improved on, because there is no improving 3 things you stir together in a pot. The same lemon, the same sugar, the same water, in the same order they have always gone in. The only thing that has changed in almost 200 years is the number on the label. Most folks pick up a bottle like that and believe they are buying lemon syrup. What they are actually buying is the bottle, the label, and the 10 minutes some stranger stood over a pot in a factory somewhere. The syrup was never the expensive part of it. It never is. What that whole convenience shelf is really selling you, from one end to the other, is the notion that these little jobs are more trouble than they are worth, and are best left to somebody else. That is the sale they are making, not the lemon at all, the excuse to skip it. So pull up a chair and settle in, and if this is the kind of thing your own grandmother knew, go on and subscribe, and I will keep the porch light on for you. My name is Granny Pearl, out on County Road 6 outside Tipton, Indiana, and I have 2 things to show you today. The first cost you about 50 cents and one quiet afternoon, and it will keep you in cold lemonade the whole summer long. The second one you make a single time, and after that it feeds itself on the scraps out of your own kitchen for the rest of your days, and you will never buy another bottle of it as long as you live. Stay for the second one. It was the one Della was proudest of, and it is the one the store is praying you never learn. There is one idea sitting underneath this whole thing, and if you take nothing else away from me today, take this. That convenience shelf is not in the business of selling you food. It is in the business of selling you the work. Nearly everything on it is something a person could put together at home out of cheaper parts, and the whole trade depends on you being convinced that you cannot, or that your time is worth too much to bother trying. Lemon syrup is the plainest example I know of, because there is nowhere for anything to hide in it. No secret ingredient, no special machine, sugar, water and a lemon, and you have reached the end of the list. When you can see clear to the bottom of a thing, and it still costs you $4, you are not paying for the thing at all. You are paying not to know how simple it was. And here is the part that stops people cold. None of this is new. It is not some thrifty little notion somebody dreamed up last year for the internet. A woman named Lydia Maria Child set it down in a book in the year 1832. A book called The American Frugal Housewife, and you can go and read the very page for yourself today. She wrote, and I have the line right here in front of me, "The lemon syrup, usually sold at 50 cents a bottle, may be made much cheaper." 50 cents. In 1832, 50 cents was real money, the better part of a day's wages, and she was already calling it a robbery. Della cooked this same syrup down every June of her life, and she never once knew whose recipe it was. Her mother had made it, and her mother before her, back further than any of them could have told you. It ran all the way back to that page from 1832 that said the quiet thing out loud. They have been selling you your own grandmother's recipe back to you for the better part of 200 years. Let me show you how to take it back off them. You will need 3 lemons, a cup of water, and 2 cups of sugar. That is your whole shopping list, and even at what the store charges today, it runs you somewhere around 70 cents, for the very same amount that sits in that $4 bottle. Put the sugar and the water together in a small saucepan over a medium flame. You are not after a hard boil. You want it warm, and you want to keep it moving with a spoon, slow and patient, until every last grain of that sugar has melted down into the water, and the whole pan goes clear. Tilt it toward the light, and when you cannot find a single crystal riding along the bottom, you have made yourself a syrup. That is all a syrup ever was. Sweetened water, cooked just long enough to hold itself together. Child's own words were to take about a pound of sugar and boil it down in water to a quart, and you are welcome to do it exactly her way. But the cup and the 2 cups will land you in the same honest place. Then take it off the heat, and pay attention here, because this next part is the whole secret of the thing. You never put the lemon in while the pot is still hot. Heat murders the brightness in it, cooks the life clean out of the lemon, and leaves you with that flat, tired sweetness that tastes for all the world like the bottle. So you wait. Let the syrup sit off the flame a few minutes and cool its heels. While it does, take your 3 lemons and zest them first, only the yellow, never the white pith underneath, but because the pith is where all the bitter hides. Then cut them and juice them, and you will have about half a cup. In it all goes, the zest and the juice together, straight into the warm syrup, 1 turn of the spoon, and your whole kitchen changes over to the smell of it. That smell right there is the one thing they can never fit into a bottle, no matter what they print on the tag. I will tell you how I learned that, because I did not always know it. The first summer I kept my own house, the year I married and moved out to this road, I made a batch of that syrup and dumped the lemon juice straight into the boiling pot, proud as you please, and what I poured off tasted flat and cooked and tired. It tasted like the bottle. I carried a jar of it over to Della, thinking I had done something clever, and she took 1 sip, set it right back down and said, "You cooked the lemon to death, child. Off the heat next time." I have not made a hot batch since, and neither will you now, because I just handed you the whole summer it took me to learn it. Once it is well stirred, let it come all the way down to room temperature, and then pour it through a strainer. A fine sieve does the job, or a square of cheesecloth if you are the particular kind. All you are doing is catching the zest and the stray seeds, so what runs through comes out clear and clean. Or then it goes into a bottle. I make mine the first hot week of every June, the same as Della always did, and I keep the jar right on the door of the icebox, where my eye falls on it. It'll keep 2 or 3 weeks in the cold, and if you mean to drink it all summer, do what she did and make a fresh little jar every couple of weeks, rather than one big batch that turns before you reach the bottom of it. 2 or 3 spoonfuls in a tall glass of cold water, and you have a lemonade not 1 bottle on that shelf can come near. Stir it into your iced tea. Spoon it warm over a plain cake. It does every last thing the $4 bottle does, and it tastes like something a living person made, for the simple reason that one did. And if you want the little flourish that made Della's better than anybody else's in the county, I will give it to you for nothing. While the syrup is cooling, before you ever strain it, drop in a few sprigs of mint out of the yard or a single stick of cinnamon and let them sit and steep. We'll fish them out when you strain. It costs you not 1 penny more and it tastes like money you never spent. Della never once charged herself for what grew wild by the back step. And do not you dare pitch those juiced lemon halves in the bin, because we do not do that in this kitchen. Rub them cut side down all around the sink and the faucet, and they will cut through the hard water film, better than any spray you could buy for the job. Nothing that comes into this house for 70 cents leaves it having done just the one job. Hold on to that thought, because the second thing I am about to show you lives on it entirely. So, here we are at the second thing, the one I told you to stay for. And this is where the whole idea grows its teeth. The lemon syrup, for all its virtues, you still have to make again every few weeks. It is cheap, but it is not free, and it is surely not forever. The vinegar is forever. Della kept a crock of it going on the back shelf of the spring house, where the water ran cold across the stone floor, even in the dead of August, and in 40 years of keeping that house, she never bought a single bottle of vinegar. Not one. That same Lydia Maria Child, the same little book, the same year of 1832, put the reason down as plain as anything. She wrote, "It is poor economy to buy vinegar by the gallon." Poor economy. A foolish way to spend your money is what she meant, and she was right in 1832, and she is every bit as right in the aisle today, because vinegar is the one thing in your whole kitchen that, set up properly a single time, will go on making itself out of your garbage for the rest of your natural life. Here is the way of it. You want a jar or a small crock, a gallon or better, with a loose cover over the top and never a tight lid, because the thing has to breathe. Start it off with about a quart of raw, unpasteurized apple cider vinegar, the cloudy sort, the kind with the pale strands, drifting around in it. Those strands go by a name. They are called the mother, and they are the living part of it, the very thing that turns cider and wine into vinegar. That 1 quart of starter is the only thing in this whole business you will ever pay for. $3 to $5, one time, and then you are done. It is the last money vinegar takes out of your pocket for good. Then you feed it, and this is the part I have always loved, because you feed it the very things you have been pouring down the drain your whole life. The last inch of cider gone hard in the back of the refrigerator, the flat beer nobody finished at supper, the wine settled in the bottom of a bottle. Any of it, all of it, straight in. Lay a square of cheesecloth loose over the top, so the air can get in, but the dust and the flies cannot. And set it somewhere warm, 65 to 80 degrees, and out of the direct sun. And then you leave it be and let it do its quiet work. In 4 to 8 weeks, you go and taste it. And this is how you can tell, because this is the spot where folks get a little nervous. It ought to smell sour and clean and sharp, and it ought to make you wince the same way a good whiff of store vinegar does. That wince means it is ready. What you do not want is a smell like fruit gone to rot, or a smell like nail polish remover. Those just mean it wants more time or more air, not that you have poisoned anybody. Once it makes you squint, bottle off however much you need, and then, and this is the whole trick of the thing, top the crock right back up with more scraps. It never runs dry, and it never gets bought again, and the older that crock grows, the stronger and the quicker it works. Every fall, the drops off the 2 apple trees behind Della's house went to cider, and whatever cider turned went straight on into that crock. And that is how a thing begun before the First World War was still throwing off good vinegar when I was a girl small enough to need a stool to reach it. It never cost a soul a dime after that first jar. It just ate the windfalls nobody else had a use for. And I am going to be plain with you here, the way I would be sitting across my own table, but because it is the only way I know how to do this right. Use this vinegar for your cooking and your cleaning. A salad, a pan of greens, a wipe down the counters, the grease off the front of the stove. What you must not do is use homemade vinegar for canning. Canning wants an acid you can count on, right down to the number, and a crock breathing on a shelf cannot promise you that. So you buy the tested kind for that one job and keep your own for everything else. I am not hedging when I say that, only handing you the plain truth of it so you keep yourself safe. And staying safe is the whole reason for doing things the old way to begin with. And that crock will do a good deal more for you than dress a salad. Half vinegar and half water in a jar cleans your windows streak-free for nothing at all. A splash in the rinse water softens the wash the way the bottled softener only pretends to. Warm a little in a pan and it lifts the burnt scorch off the bottom of a pot you had already given up for lost. Della cleaned a whole farmhouse out of that one crock and a box of baking soda, and she would have laughed out loud at the shelf of coloured sprays they sell you now. Every last one of them mostly water you are paying a company to ship clear across the country. Put a pencil to it sometime. A household that buys the one bottle of vinegar a month is laying out somewhere between $12 and $36 a year, every year, world without end, for a thing that could be feeding itself for free on the back corner of the counter. The crock sets you back $3 to $5 the one time. You are ahead of it inside the first month, and ahead of it every month after, right on until you are gone, and by then that crock belongs to somebody younger, and it is still going strong. And do you see now what the two of them have in common? Because this is the whole lesson, and it runs a good deal deeper than lemons and vinegar. They are the same move, both of them. You buy the plain ingredient one time, cheap, and then you let your own kitchen do the labour the store was charging you $4 a bottle for. The lemon syrup turns 70 cents into a whole summer of cold lemonade. The vinegar turns your own garbage, the cider and the beer and the wine dregs you were pouring out anyway, into the very thing you had been paying good money for on the shelf. Nothing new ever came into the house. You just quit letting the good of it walk back out. So do this one thing for me, and it will not cost you a red cent. Next time you are standing in that aisle, pick up a bottle, any bottle at all, and turn it over and read the back of it the way I read the lemon syrup. Read the honest list of what is in it. If every item on that list is something you already own, or something you could keep on a shelf for pennies, then you are not looking at food. You are looking at a fee. You are looking at that convenient shelf charging you for a job your own two hands could finish in an afternoon. Some of those bottles you will decide are worth the fee, and that is fair enough. It is your money and your afternoon to spend. But you will never again pay it without knowing, because now you can read that label the way Della read it, and the way that woman read it clear back in 1832. A green glass jar of lemon syrup on the cold spring house shelf, and a crock of vinegar beside it, older than my own mother. Those two humble things helped feed a family straight through the leanest years this country has ever known, and they did it on sugar, on lemons, and on the scraps out of the bin. Della has been gone a long time now, but every June I still cook that syrup down in the same kind of green jar, and there is a crock breathing away on my own counter this very minute, and the store 3 miles down the road still does not know that in a farmhouse outside Tipton, Indiana, there is one old woman it cannot sell a single bottle of anything to. That is not nothing. Run it out across a whole life, and it comes to a great deal of money you got to keep, and more than the money, it is the plain proof that you were never near as helpless as they needed you to feel. This is Granny Pearl, and I will leave the porch light on for you. Before you go, do one last thing for me down in the comments. Tell me the one thing you used to buy in a bottle and now you make for yourself. And tell me what it was that finally made you stop buying it. I read every last one of them, and I promise you somebody else out there needs to hear the very story you were about to tell me.